The Match Ball.
Hello there, welcome to the show. We're streaming live on YouTube exclusively for our TSB Plus members who can also get early access to the Match Ball. You can watch the show later and listen in your podcast app. The show is brought to you in association with Levi Solicitors, who are on the home straight now with their birthday month promotion, Michael.
Their final Match Ball. Probably having an extra celebration for this. With like just some extra cake or something. But yeah, 15% off those ones.
Which ones?
Lasting powers of attorney, wills, and conveyancing.
Of the three, which is your favourite?
Conveyancing.
I'm just padding
the original big three.
Padding this out now, given the game. It wasn't great.
Should we talk a bit more about wills?
What, legal services? Yeah, 15% discount, wills, conveyancing, lasting powers of attorney until the 31st of this month. That's October, the end of Levi's 90th birthday month, and you can get a 10% discount on your legal fees and all the other services. Full details, terms on the website, levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. Down here with Michael and Chris Mack as we review a 0-0 draw at Ashton Gate against Bristol City, where we never lose. We didn't lose today. It was 0-0. I'm trying to take the positives. Can you think of three big things to talk about? Because it wasn't a stellar performance, was it? But clean sheet, didn't lose, whatever.
Is that the third point?
That's my summary.
We're really going to have a tough time of fleshing it out because it was just fine.
Yeah.
There's not really much else to say.
Can I ask that we talk about the camera angle as one of the big three?
Yeah, definitely.
Because, as has been pointed out in the comments, there are people there in the away end just being blasted with the sun in their eyes. Loads of people picking up on the camera angle. So, for the benefit of the many thousands of us who didn't make it to the game today, Ben is saying Ashton Gate has the worst broadcast camera position in the country. Awful angle to watch a game from. Somebody mentioned, this is the good one. This was the one that really tickled my bones. It was Alligator Blood who said, I don't know what it was like in the ground, but could barely see the yellow kits in the sun. Yellow kids in the sun? Yellow kits in the sun. Also, the cameraman was in a hot air balloon, apparently. It was bad, wasn't it?
It was a bad angle in the first place, but given the width of angle on it, you would think that would have made it easier to follow the ball, but no.
What you found is they just didn't bother on some occasions.
Just didn't bother. At points, you were just looking at a large section of the pitch. You're like, where's the ball? And then it'd occasionally cut to a real obtuse camera angle, like it was like you were watching Fast and the Furious or something, as like a fullback and just walk in front of the camera.
That's some French art house cinema.
Very confusing.
But it was it was a weird one, wasn't it, Chris? Like I think watching the broadcast, I don't know what it was like actually on the TV itself or the international streams, but you had the commentator there with his Scottish sidekick, the co-commentator, but there was no stadium noise. Like, so it felt oddly detached. So it felt like you were in outer space. Like, that bloke who's been stuck on the ISS for a bit, for months in space. It felt like he was filming it on his phone through awful contrast settings and no atmosphere from the game. So it felt really weirdly arm's length, that one today.
It felt a bit COVID-y in that regard with the lack of crowd noise. I was looking up on a Bristol City forum about it, and it seems their explanation as to why that's happened is that's just where they've built the media sections and camera positions in the ground.
That will be it. Yeah, that's just where we put it. Top of Blackpool Tower.
It felt very top of the East Stand. That's how it felt.
Yeah, which is not. It's not anything to do with the game necessarily, but I just wanted to flag it. But it was a weird. Like, I've been engaged and engrossed in some Leeds games in recent months and years, but that wasn't one of them. It just felt a bit like it was all happening on a different planet or whatever.
And they had no threat either, which was weird because I think we. Was it fair to say? Is it a Leeds bias thing? It's not. We were definitely the better team without actually looking particularly good. But
in the first half, I noted down at half time, Michael, that there was a bit of a lack of control in that first half, but we still had 64% possession in the first half. Second half, I think we mostly dominated it. It got a bit loose, didn't it, towards the end? But yeah, it was a game we were never out of control of, but it never felt like we were fully in control and our best version of ourselves.
They had a period between, I want to say, about 15 and 30 minutes where they had a couple of chances. They had a couple of chances within about a minute of each other. But beyond that, in attack, they didn't offer very much. I think they did it. They did a decent job defensively. Like, you could see their press kind of frustrated Leeds, and Leeds weren't able to have it all their own way. I think maybe like you compare it to like a Coventry or someone like that, where Leeds just had it a little bit easier and were able to win that game. But I definitely think Bristol City will be happy enough for that.
Well, I've got the stats for you now. 68% possession in the end. Expected goals of 1.18 to 0.16 for Bristol. So more defensive solidity. It's just that there wasn't the same fluidity at the other end. I'm looking at the momentum graph. We had just about all of it, particularly in that second half.
In some ways, it felt their best chance. It wouldn't even register as XG, but it was when they got in down the right quite early on and there was a cross pull back and it didn't quite get to anyone. But if that does get to someone, it's likely going to be a goal. So that was about as dangerous as it felt.
Yeah, I mean, I have made some notes here just saying that they made quite a bright start. It took us, I think, 10 minutes to properly get into the game. I thought they were quite physical. We met our match in that regard, and we woke up about 11 minutes-ish and started to look like we were stringing things together. But the first chance I've noted was the one on 36 minutes, which was the the breakaway corner. Because I think I said to you lot to you two in the studio, like, why don't we just break away from this corner and score? And we nearly did.
We did. Dan James didn't pass soon enough and didn't just continue running for some reason.
Yeah, he just ran out of steam, which I wasn't expecting. I was expecting him to just kick it about 20 yards ahead of himself and keep running, but I suppose he's been injured for a while, hasn't he? There was that Bogle header a couple of minutes before that as well.
Yeah, there was a little cluster because Nonso had the shot from the short corner as well, where he hit an early shot as well. So there was a little cluster of chances around the sort of half hour to 40-minute mark.
Yeah.
But at no point did I ever think it had gone in.
And Rodon nearly scored from corner.
Well, it was on target.
That would have been...
It was on target. So that's something, I suppose, to build on.
Do you agree with the comment I'm about to just pop on screen in a second from Thomas saying, incredibly boring. If we want to win the league, these are the types of games we should be coming away from with 3 points. But you can't win every single game, can you?
We are becoming a little bit draw specialists away, aren't we?
7 points in 3 games
Yeah.
in a week. In a game week, if you want to take those 3 games as like a little group, 7 points. I think that's more than enough.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally you want to win it. Of course you do. And we had the chances to win it, I would argue, on balance. But if you don't lose.
Yeah, I mean, the big one, the Nonso, James down the right, pulled back for Nonso. That's probably the vast majority of our XG, I would guess, because it was blocked on the line, wasn't it? He just never quite had it under control, did he? I don't know if he could do it again if he'd take an extra touch and try and place it a bit more, but he tried hitting it fairly early, didn't he? Which you can see why, because it's come to him with a fairly open goal in front of him.
I think the defender reads that really well. So, I mean, once he's hit it, I wasn't looking at the line, but when he hit it, you're like, yeah, back across the goalkeeper, that's going in. But it didn't, and that's that.
Yeah, and then Aronson had that chance immediately afterwards too, in the immediate aftermath of that.
Yeah, just dragged wide. Which, again, to go back to the TV coverage, which they decided to show about 10 minutes later after someone else had had a shot, but then they just cut that back in, and it was like, okay, we're going to see this, are we? Good.
I think it's a fair gripe to complain about the TV coverage because I don't have Sky, but I can't imagine it's less than about £35 a month that people are paying for the privilege. And I know, they're showing more games and stuff. They don't have the ability to have Premier League coverage of them all. But if you're paying that kind of money, the quality of that today was abysmal. No wonder people are committing piracy.
Using VPNs. Hey, might be having a VPN sponsor soon. That's exciting, isn't it?
Very good.
How will we sell that one?
Hard to know.
I wonder. Yeah, not a stellar game. I mean, what else did we note down in the second half? Bogle's now suspended. 67 minutes, he got that yellow card.
On the plus side, I thought Byram actually was very good.
Yeah.
On the left-hand side.
Okay.
It became it only really seemed to become a problem for Byram when we had also brought Solomon on, because it just seemed to be them both playing it backwards. It was like, well, he'd go Byram into Solomon, who'd play it backwards, and then occasionally, if it went Solomon to Byram, they just both turned backwards. And it just felt like there was not an awful lot doing down that side after, once we'd got Solomon on.
What do you make to Daniel's comment here on the stream, Chris, that Byram offered nothing on the left wing on the overlap, should have been Schmidt? The problem is Byram's right-footed predominantly, isn't he? So he's always going to go inside or invert, I believe the kids call it these days.
I do think I would wonder what the deal is with Schmidt if he's not. He doesn't seem to be trusting him whatsoever. But I suppose last year it was kind of the same with Gruev, wasn't he? And even Rothwell, until it was forced upon him, it was like 5-10 minutes here and there. But Schmidt did not even get on the pitch.
He does seem he's quite conservative, isn't he, with Farke? That's probably the one thing we know of him from his season and a bit now, that he does go for the safe option. And, he's had Byram before. He had a pretty steady season last year, so I wasn't at all surprised he put him in. I thought he did all right. I mean, it was Byram who put the chance on for Bogle, wasn't it, when he went to the back? It was his cross to the back post.
The header, you mean?
I think.
Was it one that Joseph missed? Or Oh no, the header,
the first half one where I thought Byram checked back on himself and then put it to the back post with his right.
I thought Byram played quite well, but at the same time, he doesn't have the same flair that Farke plays with. Well, there you go, man of the match on SofaScore, Sam Byram,
Right.
and on FOTMob.
I mean, that's an algorithm, of course, so you can't really live by that. But I thought he did quite well. It just wasn't. It's just not the same, really. But we were talking earlier about how much of a tidy footballer Byram is. Like you forget that he is just because he's been injured for quite some time. He's a good signing, a good player to have at that level. But yeah, no, I agree. Maybe a little bit more zip in the last 20 minutes with Schmidt might have been worth it.
And I think when you bring, probably towards the end, when you bring Solomon on as well, having a fullback who's then going to go around the outside of him and look to overlap at that point, maybe that's where it becomes a bit more of an advantage.
Like 2 trailer park girls.
Exactly.
Go around the outside.
Whereas, yeah, like I say, that side it felt quite stodgy at that point.
I'm going to pivot over to Farke Watch now, and because the next thing in my notes after the yellow for Bogle at 67 minutes was the subs on. What time was it? Can you imagine? Can you think?
Right on cue, wasn't it?
70th minute. Sleepy Joel went off. On came Mateo Joseph, nearly scored with his first touch, which we'll talk about in a sec. Dan James went off and Mana Solomon came on. And yet Solomon seems to be way off it at the minute, I would say.
Yeah, it wasn't great again, was it? But then again, you could say that. The subs, I feel like the game needed them, but then when they happened, it actually seemed to make us worse.
So yeah, Paul said exactly that. Subs made us worse. If anything, Solomon was really poor. But you've got to manage your players' minutes, I suppose, especially when they're coming back from injury.
Yeah, it's a little bit like the Norwich game before the break where the subs were made, and I remember at the time being like, why is, like, it was Gelhardt and Aronson and Pero and Bamford was a front four, but I suppose you kind of have to do that because you've got a break until next Saturday, but then there's Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday again before the international break, and then it really kicks in between November and March.
I was a little bit surprised to see Nonso going off, actually, given there is a week until the next game. I thought maybe just leave him on. But.
Yeah, just for a bit of magic.
Well, basically, yeah, he wasn't having a brilliant game. I didn't think Nonso, but he has his moments, and I feel like we know he's got goals in him as well. So I'd have probably left him on. But
I think with Solomon being on the pitch as well, you would maybe want someone who is going to create things, because at this minute it just looks like Solomon, they're trying to get him match fit. At the minute he looks like our 4th best winger by quite some distance.
Mole's just saying, with regards to Farke Watch, the nice thing is that you can just copy and paste your notes each match. I mean, it's not far wrong, is it? I mean, he's got his method and he sticks to it. You know, going to drop the B-bomb again, but when Bielsa was here, it was like, do plan A better. And Farke is of a similar mind, albeit his plan A is slightly different to Marcelo Bielsa's.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities. I think whenever Rob pulled everyone after the Burnley game with his match report and listening back to like the Charlton match ball from 2019-20, and it was very much the same then as it is now, but that's just the psyche of being a Leeds fan, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So that Joseph chance, he came on at 70 minutes, 71 minutes, his first touch. You missed that actually, didn't you, Chris? I think you just nipped out of the room at that point, but what did you make of it, Michael?
He should maybe get it on target, but it's hard because it was maybe a touch too high for him, and he was being lent on a bit by the defender. That was fine. The thing is, well, in that situation, if Piro's still on at that point, he's not in that position anyway, because he doesn't really attack near post in the same way and stuff, does he? Because that's what we've seen Joseph score that way this season already. So you can look at an alternative world where he's not on, but actually I suppose you just want Joseph to score. We're back to the new Pat Bamford twist. Like, I want someone to do that stuff, but just score. But I don't think that was an easy chance.
I think if you're looking for a player who has the best of Pero and the best of Joseph, they won't be playing in the Championship. That's probably the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always going to be somebody who's flawed, isn't it? Yeah, should have scored that. Nonso goes off at 85. Bamford comes on and we go 4-4 fucking 2.
The last minute to the game just were nothing. Like, absolutely nothing happened.
Yeah, Bamford made a couple of runs, but I don't think anybody really spotted them. There maybe wasn't anyone on the pitch to spot them, I suppose.
Yes, and that's the end of my notes. So
I think it said it all really. It was 92 minutes on the clock. They had a throw in our half, and their play just took absolutely ages to take it. Clearly had no real interest in actually winning it. It was like that. It's a draw. Fine.
Let's talk a little bit more about Mana Solomon, because Zach's just pointing out or commenting saying this, sorry. Don't know about you, lads, but I think Solomon has looked poor since his debut. All that hype and he's no better than Jaden Anthony. I don't necessarily think that's entirely fair on him. I thought in the opening game, he looked really, really lively and good. And didn't he provide an assist against Portsmouth, I'm going to say?
He crossed it for
Joseph.
didn't he? The one I was on about where Joseph at the near post.
Yeah.
That was a Solomon cross.
Yeah.
So, and he's obviously then been out injured and he's on his way back. He doesn't look like he's up to it yet.
No. I would agree. He either doesn't look fit or he doesn't look interested. And I'm inclined to, if we're being favourable to him, you have to say, given he has been injured, it's probably that rather than not being asked. If we get 3 weeks down the line and he still looks like this, then you're wondering if you're Jed Spencer him back at the first opportunity. But I don't know. It feels harsh to judge him on this, and also like there was just nothing going on at the point he came on. It didn't feel like there was. It didn't feel like we'd ruined something brilliant to bring him on. It was like, well, nothing's really happening, so let's try something, and it didn't work.
I think it probably hasn't helped. Obviously, there's other considerations around Solomon, but the way that the transfer was framed at the time, it was a lot of what was the term they used about like vindication of our transfer strategy, blah blah blah. You shouldn't really say those things about a player who is chronically injured and is probably some distance off being fully match fit.
Problem is, Leeds have felt butthurt by criticism this summer.
Well, grow up.
Yeah, there's a little bit about, we've got a Champions League player, and you're like, well, he's not though, is he? Because if he was, he'd be there, or he'd certainly be a team looking to be there. And where, for as much as we're a decent Championship team, we're a hell of a long way off qualifying for a Champions League place. So, yeah, I think I'm willing to give him time still, I suppose.
I mean, he needs it. We're only a quarter of the way through the season and he's been injured, so
yeah,
which doesn't come as an entire surprise. But let's talk about something.
I think that's part of the thing with Solomon as well. There are frustrations probably in the background that he's injured, which is not his fault because he's just but he is a regularly injured player. So when you sign someone who's injured and then he gets injured, everyone goes, oh, for fuck's sake, this again.
Should we talk about some more positive things behind that?
Is it Tanaka?
Well, it wasn't going to be, but seeing as you've mentioned it, Paul does says Tanaka and Pascal, men of the match. Yeah. Oh my God, that little turn that Tanaka did, that was nice. Just turned out a bother.
Yeah.
Like, put two men out of the game again, which I thought was great. I was actually going to talk about the defence, and because anyway, another clean sheet and great defensive performance from Pascal. I thought Rodon was good as well today, or Rondon, depending on how you want to bill him.
Yes, Salomon.
Yep.
Decent game at the back. So
no Wales was in Venezuela, but here we are.
Yeah, but yeah, I think defensively, there's a lot to be cheerful about that performance.
I felt like their strikers didn't particularly cause us any problems because they had Naki Wells starting, who
isn't he 100 years old?
I thought he was much older than he is. He's 34.
Right,
but then the strikers they brought on were just useless as well, weren't they?
Yeah,
big lumps. It felt like they felt very championshipy. Did their striker subs?
We are unbeaten in 7. We haven't lost since the Burnley game, which I know there's been a couple of frustrating draws in there. The best we could have hoped for, I think, really is 5 wins and 2 draws, which would have been if we'd beaten Sunderland. So you have to be happy enough with that as a points return.
It's weird that the Sunderland draw, I felt like I wanted to cry after it, whereas this one, which is a worse result than getting a point at Sunderland, I'm kind of like, well, there you go. It's another game done.
Context, though, innit?
Yeah. I don't feel like it's necessarily fair to compare this with like the 0-0 we had at West Brom, though, because we could still be playing that game now, and I feel like no one would ever score.
No one would have tried.
There were little periods of this game where it felt like that, where it was just two teams happy to draw. But, we did also have some chances, if not a load. I think we had, according to FOTMob, I think we had 2 big chances.
Right.
Which will be the Nonto one and something else.
I was going to say, just
Joseph's probably.
With regards to the defensive solidity, since the opening day, we've only conceded 5 goals.
Yeah, and we've already discounted most of these, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because obviously there's the slip, penalties, not counting.
To concede 5 in 11 games, it's not bad, is it?
Yeah, and there's only a couple of them have been from open play, haven't they?
Yeah.
So,
it looks solid. I think that
morally, top of the league.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, another change to the defence next week with it's sort of a double change because Byram is going to switch sides, isn't he? Farke will come back in, you would imagine. I thought Bogle was actually all right today for the most part.
Yeah, he's starting to look like the player that we thought we were signing.
Yeah.
I think he obviously struggled defensively at the start, but then again, it's a new team. You're playing in a position where you can get quite easily exposed. So fair enough. Yeah, no, I quite enjoy him.
If I was to draw, oh sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say I think he looks dangerous going forward, and that's what we've signed him for. So.
Just tapping into some conspiracy theory stuff here, which very popular on the internet these days. Sort of heard. Wayne's just. I'll put the comment back on actually, but I had it on screen.
Isaac Schmidt's in witness protection, by the way.
Right. Wayne's just saying, good to see them staggering the suspensions. If Rodon gets himself booked next week, it'll work out nicely with the easy run of games coming up, which is true.
I don't think Bogles was deliberate today.
Are they deliberately picking up yellow cards to stagger the suspensions?
No, Bogle he was on the wrong side and he dragged him. Did he have a bit of a drag and a kick at him?
I've heard differently.
Have you? Right.
That's all I'm saying.
I'll run the numbers during the week and
great.
I'll come back to you.
Look what you've done.
Be a treat. Daniel Farke sort of echoing what we've been saying there. Clean sheet point on the road, but still disappointed it was not a well-deserved 3 points. On the absentees, it's difficult to say Junior would have won the game, but Largy added many end products and Junior with assists. We've had many players who could have scored. When I have to judge the first 12 games, we have delivered rock-solid defending. The best defence in the league always goes up. It's one of the claims we want to have. I mean, fair enough. It's not sexy, it's not exciting, but solid defence will help.
Yeah, and I feel like if you had 3 identical away games with this pattern, you'll win at least one of them and draw 2, and that's a perfectly decent points return for away games. So I can see what he's getting at. It's just like, well, on another day we win this, and I feel like they didn't have anything, did they? So
Farke's descriptions here in English are great. So he's saying, thanks to Ben for relaying the comments, by the way, from the press conference. Statistic-wise, a dominant game. Sometimes a bit slow in the head, then more or less step up and improve after 20 minutes. Pretty dominant. Third game in 8 days, few injuries, can't rotate. So, I mean, yeah, not quite on it in terms of speed of thought, maybe.
Yeah, it was fine, wasn't it? It's just a bit. You can never be too happy with a 0-0.
Are we giving Tanaka man of the match? Or are we sticking with the silly algorithm that had Byram as man of the match?
I actually don't know. I give it to not Pirro.
I give it Strauch, maybe.
Could do.
Yeah.
Fine, let's move on. What else do we have to do?
We're not really under the cosh, so giving it to a defender feels a bit much.
Yeah, but he's really handsome.
True enough.
Progressive defender, though.
Yeah, I thought Rothwell and Tanaka were both decent again in midfield. Kept things ticking over. Yeah, the Aronson Pirro bit didn't quite work. I mean, Aronson got involved in some stuff, but then all the points he kind of loses the ball and he's a bit frustrating.
Speaking of Aronson, comment on screen at the minute for you, Michael. Have a look at this. Newest from Tom Numbers.
Oh.
Bristol City, 11 letters. Was Brendan Aronson at the P. Diddy parties? Let's hope not.
Seems unlikely.
No.
That's what I'm going to say.
No, I won't actually say what the thought that just ran through my head, because I've seen the recent legal news of Ken Bates suing somebody for saying something naughty, so I'm not going to say the thought that passed through my head.
Well, you did just put a comment on screen implying Brendan Aronson could have been involved.
Yeah, but that was a device of humour.
Okay, cool.
And wasn't a serious comment.
I've just seen a comment from Farke comparing Solomon's returning form to a bottle of ketchup.
Right.
You shake it up and you never know when it's going to suddenly flow. Back into piss chat there, aren't we?
I mean, beyond that, I think, Chris, to be perfectly honest, that's sexy talk. Right, one thing you need to do is optimism, your optimism scale.
Oh, when did we last draw? Norwich.
Right.
That's fine. It's just a perfectly.
We conceived this at the start of the season, so
I know, but then it always
a nice
surprises me every single week, doesn't it?
We shouldn't be surprised. It's like Will's probate conveyancing. It's been there for years now, donkey's years, and you still fluff that.
You know, I can't think ahead.
All right.
It's too difficult.
Okay.
Thankfully, I'm really, really good at living this stuff when it comes to the reads. I feel like it's another game where we'll just say at the end of the season we'll struggle to remember it if we can go up. If we fail to go up, it's one of the half a dozen we'll point at and go, should have probably won that.
Donna's just suggesting that the attendance at one of P. Diddy's parties would explain the haunted look in Brendan's eyes.
Bless him.
Yeah.
He's doing all right, isn't he? The thing with Aronson in the spot he's in as well, I can't think of an obvious way to rearrange that team that makes us any better.
No.
As much as I'd love to exclude him.
Who? Brendan?
Brendan, yeah.
Right.
I think he is, but the best equipped to play in that position. And that was, to be clear, a joke about loving to exclude him. It's fine. He's okay.
Yeah.
I'm willing to accept him.
With your rampant anti-American.
Of course.
Yeah.
I do think with
Agenda.
a fully fit team, I would like to see James on the right, Largy on the left, and Nanto through the middle.
Mm.
Yeah.
But that's maybe a little bit decadent. I don't know.
Yeah, really like hit the big man type football.
The smallest front three in world football.
It works for Guardiola. He takes a bunch of 5'6" footballers and look how they've done.
I mean, there's no point in labouring this one, is there? Because we've still got to do the match ball extra time for our members, the lucky members who get our, great post-show chat where we rate our performance. I think actually this performance has been relatively polished and professional, given that nothing really happened in the game. I think it's better than the one through the week.
Well, it is easier when you watch it on telly, I have to say, even when the coverage is a bit avant-garde in its presentation.
Avant-garde.
It is definitely easier to come with an opinion, because when we come straight from Ellen Road, I'm like, oh, I think that was a good chance, but it was at the far end, so I don't know. And then you see a replay of it, and it was nothing of the sort sometimes. Right. Or you think it was one player and it was someone else completely. But yeah, it was an easy game to keep track of, was this one, I think. Yeah. It's the truth of it.
I've nothing else to say on it other than issue 3 of the mag is out for Plymouth next week.
Super duper.
I was trying to find a way to shoehorn that in.
You don't need to.
I've really had to shoehorn it in. Yeah.
We can also say we've got fuckloads of really good merch coming as well if you want to buy some stuff, like just cynically in time for Christmas.
Calendars are coming.
Yep.
Mugs, Tanaka mugs.
Mm-hmm. They are really good as well.
There'll be some calendar stuff in the mag, I believe, also.
Okay.
Is it going to be a list of the months?
No comment.
What a mystery.
There's the shirt that, if you're watching the video that Chris is wearing right now, which you may have spotted, is now in blue. Yep. That'll be on sale soon. So yeah, tons of stuff to come.
We've sold loads of stuff to you, so thanks.
But yeah, I mean, in terms of the game, I think we've probably talked about everything that happened.
It's done. That's the end. It's fine. Members, thank you for joining us on the live stream. The audio version will be in the members feed with extra time. Some bonus chat after this. Lucky you.
Jumper. I can just see a comment there. Yes, jumper is coming.
The Christmas jumper reveal. Yeah. Yeah. It's got a festive, retro feel to it. That's all I'm prepared to say at this stage. Yeah. If you want to become a member, head to thesquareball.net/plus. As always, we appreciate your support. More stuff to come after the weekend.
See if Bristol fans could find anything of interest to talk about.
Yeah, we're going to be chatting to Johnny Cooper from Opta about stats and whatnot, but that's coming on Tuesday on the West Stand, so we'll jig the shows around this next week. In the meantime, we will see you soon. Thanks for joining us. See you in a bit.
The Match Ball.